I didn't notice it. I noticed it the other day. I said, well, I don't have time to get it clean, but.
Yeah, right. That's great. Love it. Did you have a good Seder?
I did. We had a very nice kind of together sort of thing. We were in Greater Philadelphia.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew anything about Philadelphia, but anyway, my daughter was in King of Prussia. I was there to her school.
Okay.
My sister and daughters lived almost 45 minutes or so.
Right. I've got an aunt in Jenkintown.
Okay, well, I used to live in Jenkintown.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, in fact.
Of course you did.
Yeah, my parents moved there after just as I was graduating college, high school, and they lived in a Beaverville Apartments there, which was, and my dad was actually a counselor in Jenkintown.
No kidding.
A good friend of mine with whom I spoke on the phone the other day used to teach in Temple Beth Shalom. And you could see right from where my parents lived, you could look over, and that was the high school was right in front of the thing. So there you go.
All right, team.
All right, so I might fumble around with pages a little bit. So.
Do your thing.
That's a very pretty topic.
Shabbat Shalom. And kind of Chag Sameach. Oh, hi. Kind of Chag Sameach. It's not a Chag right now. Well, I guess when the sun goes down, second day of Passover. And the 13 gets the starting nod today because we're allowing or helping solidify the familial relationships of Rabbi Benji and Rabbi Lynette with their respective families, and so they asked me to fill in, so I'm the fill in today, and we have Gail, and you want to tell us what we're going to be doing here first?
We are going to be singing Hine Ma Tov, and this is one that everybody knows, so you're going to have to sing extra loud. Extra loud. Hine Ma Tov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Ya la la ya la 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 Hine Ma Tov Ya la la ya la 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 Hine Ma Tov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yad Hine Ma Tov Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yad.
You know, it's always interesting, at least to me, that somehow or another the Passover Seder, something comes up just before. It's something interesting. I'm not going to talk at length right now.
Okay.
So just to let you know, just a little story. And what was interesting at our Seder was that well, what was not interesting, but what happened, and then what was interesting, we celebrated the Passover at my niece's house, just northeast of Greater Philadelphia, and my niece has 3 sons, one of whom goes to the University of Pennsylvania. Now, you may not be aware of what's going on in the news recently, but they decided, a court decided that it was okay to count the Jews on campus. That is to say, and we have a head going like this. That is to say that now the idea was to see whether the argument was to see whether or not there was systematic discrimination against the Jewish people. But any Jew who has somebody else other than themselves counting them says, when they start to count us, it never ends well. So I asked my nephew, actually he's my great nephew, I asked him, so what's going on there? And he said to me, you know, the way we've decided to handle things is not even to give it voice, not to say anything or do anything, to allow the legal process to move forward, however that happens. It made me think of the Jews who were separated out in the land of Goshen during in the story of Passover, and how they were put in a certain place so that they could all be seen and controlled in the same particular way. And no one has to say that how many times that has happened over the history of our people. And a crazy thought went into my mind is, how are they going to designate you then as a Jew? Are they going to put a yellow star on you, maybe number your arm, whatever the deal is? But as I say, this is the sort of thing that anymore it would have created such great surprise and I can't even think of the word. I know the word in Hebrew. I can't think of the word in English. Breathtakingly difficult situation that people would have known about it. And what I found, though, when I chatted with people around here, they were completely unaware. Let's just part of the point being that no matter when it happens, there's always something that will come up in the context of a Passover Seder, or if you haven't had one yet, maybe you will, where you can discuss something of topical importance. We're going to continue with Lachado D, and you can see it on the screen here. The version is the Era version. Yeah, okay.
Lachado di Libra kala B'nai Shabbat nekabla Lachado di Libra kala B'nai Shabbat nekabla Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Umevarah Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Umevarah Lachado di Likra kala B'nai Shabbat nekabla
Pardon me, I have to ask Bobby one thing before. on page 9 if you were holding a Siddur. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness which inspires us to sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in the darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and of love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. The Chatzi Kaddish is there. I can do this if you like. Please rise.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yomad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
V'chayechon v'yom echon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uv'izman kariv.
V'imeru Amen. Yahei Shemei Rabbah mevorach, v'olam olam me'amaya, Yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yithalah, Shemei dekudashah, ve'elam min kol birchata v'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram be'alma.
V'imeru
Amen.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed. You seated, everyone.
Kata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalikner shel Shabbat.
So people cover their eyes sometimes when they do that ahead of time. Right? The candles, because technically the candles have to be lit before sundown, but the lighting of the candles start the Sabbath. Right? So you have to light. So between the lighting of the candles and the saying of the blessing, that's a cut time, right? But now it's Sabbath as I'm saying the blessing. So when I cover my eyes so that I shouldn't see them prior to saying the blessing. When I open my eyes, oh, the candles are on. Isn't that something? So that's the kind of that background of doing that. But please remember that and don't forget that that same blessings in Judaism desacralize something so that we can then make use of everything is God's. We can go into our homes, we use our homes, we sacralize it, and then we can use our homes. That's why so many people touch the system before they walk in the sense of saying, oh, now I'm coming into this space. Okay, so anyway, little side knowledge. How do you like that? Did you know that ahead of time? I told them that they learned something today, so and so they did. There's a reading on page 33 that I'd like to share with you. As you taught Torah to those whose name I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Continuing now with the Shema, page 34. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed.
Please be seated, everyone.
V'ha-
Oh, you want to do V'ahavta? That's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha b'derek, uv'shakbecha v'kumecha, uv'shartam le'ol al yadecha, v'chayu l'totefa v'neinecha, u'chtavtam, Amuzo beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Eloheihem ani Adonai Eloheihem Asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim lehiyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Eloheihem.
So there's another custom where you see many people stand up in a congregation, and when they say the Shema, they'll cover their eyes. Ever see this? So a little bit, the background to that is the following, that when people are preparing for their deaths, one of the things, among the very last things you say is the Shema. Right? So this is real magical thinking here. but I don't want to have God get the idea. I don't want God to kind of identify me as that I'm saying the blessing before I'm dying. So I cover my eyes so God won't be able to identify me, right? And so that's part of the background of that. Good. I left something, I think, in my car or someplace or another, maybe scattered on the floor. Anyway, that's the background to that. Real magical thing. That's why we say konahara too, right? So something's happening that's bad or likely to be bad. You say it. You draw attention to yourself by the evil eye, and you name the evil eye. The evil eye goes on to someone else, bother somebody else. That's the background behind that. The Michamocha is the center of the Passover ceremony. The idea of going across the sea. I found it really interesting that friends of mine living in Ra'ana now, which is north of Tel Aviv, had planned to spend with their family members, one who lives in San Francisco, another one who lives in Amsterdam, and a third who lives in Israel. They had planned to get all together, for a Passover at this resort, a kosher resort near Athens. Okay, so my friends couldn't get out of Israel. This is just a couple of days ago. They couldn't get out of Israel because Israel was only allowing 50 people per plane to leave. They have this huge jet, but only 50 people could leave. As many could come in as they wanted, but only 50 could leave at a time in case there was some issue. So they had to go to Eilat, and there's a sister city in Egypt in Eilat called Taba. Taba is just south of that. I went there before when Israel still was still had the Sinai Peninsula. In any event, so you're in Taba. So they had to go from Israel into Egypt to get physically out of Egypt to celebrate metaphorically the going out of Egypt, which I thought was a very strange little thing. We're going to sing Miriam's song, right? And since Miriam had sang with tambourines, it looks like we have a tambourine already.
We got a tambourine.
And we have had the song here. It's by Debbie Friedman, and it's very wordy, but see if you can keep up with it.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang of history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she danced toward the light. And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to one who exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long.
Second verse.
When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed upon the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march the promised land. Here we go. And the women dancing with the timbrels followed Miriam as she sang a song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight.
their timber, followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to one whom we've exalted.
Miriam and the women danced all night long.
So here's where I'm going to talk a little bit. Okay. It always, when you read the Haggadah, and I get to the 10 plagues each time and read the story over and over again, I'm fascinated by the fact that Pharaoh was just so intent on whatever project he was going after that he, was willing to suffer and suffer and suffer until he kind of got the idea that this was maybe he would make a different choice. And it led me to reflect a little bit on a book that I read by a woman named Lior Zmigrad, whose core idea is that some people are prone to rigid, dogmatic thinking because their cognitive style is affected by their biological history and makeup. We become ideological. I have this problem of talking in terms of liberal and conservative. I saw in the paper recently that somebody who's against something with the current funding, they're against it because they're ultra conservative, and these ones are just ultra conservative versus the conservatives. But it isn't a conservative and liberal issue. Gets us back to the University of Pennsylvania, and some go on campus. The liberal anti-Semites and the conservative anti-Semites, and they're, in a sense, however you put them together, it's not the divide between liberal and conservative. The divide is between ideologically stringent and unbending and flexible, liberal in a formal sense of the term. People become ideological because they face uncertainty, the social fragmentation, and they need simple answers, they need identity, they need belonging. And so they use these shortcuts and reduce complexity at the cost of nuance and independence. And so there's the idea of what they call cognitive rigidity. And that can happen on the left or the right. Difficulty adapting to new rules and new information. People who struggle with this kind of flexible thinking, and you can see this in the lab, are more likely to hold extreme beliefs, to resist evidence, to think in black and white terms. And that isn't a liberal or conservative, that's for both. It's a style of thinking. How you think, flexibly or rigidly, predicts then what you believe. And this can be traced to aspects of the brain. You can actually now light up the brain and see that when people hold certain strong beliefs about certain things and they are unwilling to change, that it actually lights up different centers of the brain itself. Now, susceptibility, of course, varies. People are biologically more prone to rigidity, and there are people who are less prone to identity. There's culture and environment and so on that affects that, but this happens. This extremism happens across the ideological spectrum. I'm thinking that Pharaoh, just couldn't get out of where he was. He couldn't get the idea of what was happening to him and to his people, including eventually to his firstborn son, that there was this problem. There's a encouragement to conformity. There is this suppression of individual thinking. There is this increase in hostility to outsiders. There's this reduction in empathy and adaptability. And that reduction of empathy we've seen in the news many, many times. Zmigrad's hopeful conclusion is that we're not stuck in rigid thinking, that we can train flexibility and curiosity and openness. The goal is not to have no beliefs, but to have less dogmatic beliefs. Political extremism is less about the ideas you hold than on how rigidly your brain processes the world. The ideological brain, with it comes cognitive rigidity, personality traits which don't permit openness. Now, there was a second guy who wrote a long time ago, in the 60s. He was a political immigrant from Poland. Came to the United States when he was 6 or 7 years old. He had a name that's well known to you, but you didn't know it. His name is Milton Rokic. So that Rokic is on your the brand name for the gefilte fish you might have eaten recently. It's the same name. Rokic actually is a word in Hebrew. It's a rokeach. That word in Hebrew means a pharmacist. My last name is Apotheker. Same thing. So I'm one of those people. And what Rokic, he calls himself, said that gives the following scenario. This is a political one. A person who refuses to change their mind. The scenario is a voter who strongly supports a political leader, even when presented with credible evidence of mistakes or contradictions. And this is what they do. They dismiss the evidence as biased. They double down. No, this guy's writing in the 60s and 70s, so we're talking about no particular political candidate here. Doubles down on their beliefs, increasingly distrusts opposing opinions or viewpoints. Rokic interprets this as having this closed belief system. The motivation, he generally says, is the need for security, psychological security, and for certainty in an uncertain world. They need to believe this, he said, so that their mind protects this belief. This is a defensive motivation versus Zmigrad, who says it's a processing limitation. Now, a religious example is a similar sort of thing. A strictly fundamentalist believer, a pharaoh, so to speak. He's a religious adherent. It insists that the interpretation is the only correct one, rejecting alternative interpretations within their own tradition, avoiding exposure to other viewpoints, and viewing disagreements as morally wrong. The motivation is a desire for order and certainty and authority. And so we have this broad cognitive style, this refusal to change, this cognitive mechanism that is ingrown to some people, more so than others, to think rigidly. Bottom line is that some would say we are stuck in that rigid thinking and that people won't change. And all we can hope is that we can train people to curiosity, to flexibility, and to openness. Again, the goal is not no beliefs, but non-dogmatic beliefs. I one times called this being the ideological personality. Now I want to call it the strong, dominant ideological personality versus the flexible personality. Political extremism is less about the ideas you hold than how rigidly your brain wishes to process the world. In the Torah portion, and that's how I'm going to end, in the Torah portion for the Sabbath during Passover. It's fairly long, and at the end of it, from the book of Exodus, it goes through the holidays, starting with Passover and Sukkot and all the rest, and tells the story of, kind of revisits the laws that Exodus has about the various holidays. But before that, and a line that we recognize from Rosh Hashanah in particular, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in particular, is a description of God. And sometimes I take these descriptions of God as the description of the way I should be. Right? So I'll say Hebrew first. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'chanun, Erech Apayim v'rav, Chesed v'emet, v'notzer Chesed la'alafim. God, I have to translate in my own mind here, who is compassionate and merciful, showing mercy to people no matter what they do, in a sense, showing mercy to the large population of people who were before them. And that's the idea. You have rules and then you have flexibility. And so they don't have to, they stand in conflict with each other, but they are the way that we have to kind of get ourselves out, if we are, and try to understand those who are caught in that kind of extremist ideology, whether to the right or to the left. So the next time you see it, and people start talking about, well, the right thinks this way and the left thinks this way, please, don't think of it. Allow that to be the conversation, because that's what plays on TV and allows people to think of, you're in this camp or this camp. I don't want to mention any politicians, but think of it as, is this person cognitively unable or cognitively unwilling to get out of their extremism and to think flexibly? That I believe is the ideal. That's what led to Pharaoh's downfall, and that was the message given at Sinai to Moses. Okay, you can't do everything exactly perfectly, but God will be merciful. Be merciful with yourself and allow yourselves to think flexibly. We continue now with the Avot, and you can find that on the screen here, I hope, and otherwise on page 46 and following in the Siddur. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftaku fi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sahamek Noflim Verofei Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umakayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Givurot, Umidah Melech, Melech Meimid, Umachaya, ומעצמי רק ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני וחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום הלוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Among the many lines that you learn in the Passover Haggadah, there's a couple that are really outstanding. This goes along, again, a short story. When I was being introduced to this community organizing program called BREAD, I was solicited by one of the members of the team, of the BREAD team, to kind of like a personal interview. Strangely, of course, we had our meeting at a place called Panera, which means bread to those who don't know. And she asked me, because she was coming from a Christian background and saw this work as charitable work and so on and so forth, not centered on the central aspects of the faith, that it was kind of a side thing. She said, "How did I become interested in that?" And I said, "The Passover Haggadah." She, of course, hadn't heard of this, so she knew the word, the name Haggadah. So what do you mean? I said, "B'chol dor v'dor chayav adam le'rot et azmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mi'Mitzrayim." In every generation, you're to see yourself as someone who came out of Egypt. Therefore, I'm paying back. And I hate this pay forward stuff. Pay back. You're paying back your life. You know, you got your life. So we're paying back. And then the other line is, Kol dichvin yitevi yichol. Let all who are hungry come and eat. That's all we learned that I learned that on the knee of my family members, or, metaphorically on their knee, and became part of the psychological background, from that day forward. So I'd like you to maybe take a moment to think about that, or any other private thoughts you might have in this time of Passover.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. 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 Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael.
For those individuals who are ill, in need of some psychological support, we say in this in the prayer, Rifuat HaNefesh, Rifuat HaGuf. That's in the prayer that we're about to sing. Rifuat HaNefesh is this healing of the soul, healing of the spirit, and that comes before healing of the body. Right? in the song and in our thoughts. And we can be healers of the soul by giving people a call of encouragement, being in contact with people, and just chatting with them about their lives. And so if you're thinking about somebody these days that you wish some better health and spiritual uplift, please give them a call or be in touch with them by email or text. I still write notes by hand, so I'm a dinosaur, but people seem to still enjoy them. Misha Baruch. List includes the following: Jonathan Egan, Stephen Axelrod, Margie Block and Lindsay Brilson, Marge Serrani, Keith Clark and Bruce Cohen, Stephen Cohen, Carrie Eschler, Marilyn Friedman and B. Gardner, Alan Goldberg and Tina Goldman, John Golden, Jody Heffley, Debbie Hiltbrand, Richard Holzinger, Beth Jasalowitz and Richard Kraut, Dan Lang, Mary Lockton and Kathy Matthews, Mary McDonough, Minnie Melton, Nechama Michaela Bat Shena Chava Vahunan, Brian Mason, Naomi Miller, Frank Murdoco, George Nagy, Lisa Pena, Jeremy Phelan and Ian Phillips and Richard Prostowski, Jessica Rathkoff, Aidan Regal, and Willow Roba. Emma, Leon Rosenberg, Maya Rossio, June Sahara, and Tirza Sander. Ralph Sauer, Yaffa Schintzer, Aliza Sinkinson, Heather Smith, Lou Supowitz, Rachel Vieira, John Wasserstrom, Harvey Weintraub, Jerry Young, and Ossie Zimmer. Are there other names to add to our Misha Baruch list? Let's sing together Misha Baruch.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Baruch Imotenu Mekor Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen.
Many times at a Passover Seder, you think of the people who are not there, what mom used to do or dad used to do, or sharing these stories. I happen to have very rare, but I had my sister actually with me who could confirm my stories. It's very unusual because I told stories about my family and there's nobody there to confirm them, if I tell something slightly bizarre, off color, or just happenstance. And as I was sitting there, I said, oh yeah, my sister's here, she can confirm this stuff. So, but we do mourn those folks that that were not with us at that Passover Seder. And I know there's a Yizkor service coming up next week. Some of you may be able to attend that and remember them in particular. On our list this evening for Shloshim, Bob Farrington, Susan Walco, Eliana Keebler, and Dr. Alice Dubin. The anniversaries of the deaths include my father, Benson Apotheker, Ida Bash, Paula Benjamin, Hyman Cohen and Rob Cohen, Rose Cooperman, Ronald Costa, Philip Dobb, Jean Epstein, Jeanette Friedman, Seymour Golden, Jacqueline Huff, Sam Horn, Richard Jackson and Yuli Kamenetsky, David Cass, Isidore Menser, George Resnick, Phyllis Rosen, Bill Schoenberg, Harrison Schuster, Theodore Singliger, Vladimir Slobodkin, and Alan Weinberg. Are there others whose lives we are honoring this evening? On their behalf and on behalf of the many for whom there is no one to recite the Kaddish prayer on their behalf, we rise on page, I guess, on the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah v'alama divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael v'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam ul'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitruman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemed kudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all of us and all Israel, to which we say together, amen. Please be seated. Stage left, stage right, stage right.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Hag Sameach. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. A couple of quick announcements. Please, before I get to announcements, I want to thank TBS member Leah Miller for pinch hitting on the musical front tonight. Thank you, Leah. Please join us in the mezzanine after services for a Passover-friendly oneg. And a couple of points of order for the next 2 weeks. As Rabbi Apotheker mentioned, please join us this upcoming Wednesday, April 8th at 10 a.m. here at the Temple for Passover Yizkor. April 10th, next Friday at 6 p.m., we will be doing First Friday Shabbat then for the young families. With it being spring break week, we decided to push First Friday back.
That's flexibility.
Yes. Flexibility, yes. And then April 17th is, so 2 weeks, is the New Albany Community Shabbat at the New Albany JCC. So look for the more details on how to register in the weekly window. But we will also be doing services here as well. So there's an opportunity to be with our New Albany friends in the community at the New Albany JCC, but also we will be doing services here at TBS at 6 p.m. as well on April 17th. For all of this and more, please check out the weekly window, the April-May edition of the window, and let us know if you have any questions. Shabbat Shalom, Hag Sameach. Rabbi?
Thanks, Bobby. Well, I guess we have our last song, right? somebody at the Seder asked me what Dayenu meant, a person who's visiting a non-Jewish relative. And I told the following story. So Dayenu means it would have been enough. When my mother visited my sister, who gave birth in Israel to their first grandchild, probably the second visit, maybe she was already maybe 2 or 2.5 years old. She was playing around with the grandchild, and she said to the grandchild, "Die, die," to the grandchild. So enough already. But my mother was unsure how to take that expression in Hebrew. Anyway, the Dayenu then is it in the book, or is it just up on the sheet?
It's there for sure. I don't know if it's in the book. Ilu hotzi hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim, hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et HaShabbat, natan lanu et HaShabbat, Dayenu, 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 Natan lanu et HaTorah, Natan lanu et HaTorah, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu,
I'd like to thank Gail, because I clap on 2 and 4, and she claps on 1 and 3. But I learned what 2 and 4, so you know what I mean. So Shabbat Shalom, and thank you very much for your flexibility. Thank you, Leah, for
Thank you,
playing.
Rabbi. It's nice to have you.
We'll do a little Kiddush here.
Kivanu v'harta v'yotanu v'dashta kamim Shabbat kodshecha b'ahava u'ratzon konu v'katanai v'deish hashat. Amen. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.